After what? After that, I will pour out my Spirit on all people. Now, put your hand up when this starts sounding familiar to you. I will pour out my hand on all people. Your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams, and your young men will see visions. Even on my servants, both men and women. Who's got their hands up? All right. What? Did I say that? Sorry. Pull out my Spirit. That's an example of the mouth getting lagging way behind the brain. Sorry. I will pour out my Spirit on all people. All right. That sounds really familiar, doesn't it? Yeah. Where's that quoted, by the way? Probably, but where in the New Testament is it quoted?
Mark 1 and 8, Galatians 3 and 14.
Well, see if it's right. Look over there and see if it's right. What is it? Acts 2 is what I'm thinking about. The day of Pentecost. And Peter is preaching and he says, and people have spoken in tongues and people have heard the gospel in their mother tongue. By the way, if you count the people speaking on the day of Pentecost and you count the languages that were spoken, the languages exceed the people speaking. So it was just as much a miracle of hearing as it was of speaking. It was a work of the Spirit of God for sure. Anyway, point being that Peter says what you hear is not people who are enjoying a little wine. They're not drunk. It's still early in the day. This is what Joel the prophet prophesied. Remember that? Yeah. So, what you have here is Joel preaching about something that happened, something that's going to happen, and something that's still going to happen. Do you still have your colored pencils that Ryan gave you from last class? Did you give him colored pencils? You didn't? Okay, never mind. Man, I had such a great thing to say. Now I can't say it. Well, I like to mark in my Bible with colors. And so, because my eye sees color. You know? We all have different colors on in here, and that makes us pleasing to look at. We're just a great, diverse group of people. The world is in color. And so, I like to mark my Bible in colors, and certain colors mean something. What I've done is gone through the book, and I've marked all the occasions where the day of the Lord appears. Can I give them to you? Here we go. Chapter 1, verse 15. Alas, for that day, for the day of the Lord is near. It will come like destruction from the Almighty. Now, let me pause. Remind me before I got to show you something else, but remind me what we're doing if I forget, okay? That I'm showing you all the days of the Lord. Look down into the notes at the bottom where you see chapter 1 verse 15. You might even see a box with a flower in it. It says the day of the Lord. Almost in the middle of that section it says sometimes it is abbreviated as that day. Here's what I want you to notice. The term often refers to the decisive intervention of God in history, such as through the invasion of Locus and Joel, or at the Battle of Carchemish, 605 BC. It can also refer to Christ coming to consummate history. And note 2 Peter 3:10. 2 Peter 3:10 says, that speaks of the day of the Lord. Anybody know it off the top of your head? If you don't, I'll just read it to you quickly. What? Still didn't get it. Listen to this. 2 Peter 3:10, but the day of the Lord will come like a thief. You've heard this before. The heavens will disappear with a roar, the elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything in it will be laid bare. The concept of the day of the Lord is a day of destruction. It's a day of evil on the earth. But it's a day of consummation of God's judgment. All right, so the first appearance is in chapter 1, verse 15. Chapter 2, verse 1. Blow the trumpet in Zion, sound the alarm on my holy hill, let all who live in the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming, it is close at hand. Chapter 2, verse 11. The Lord thunders at the head of his army, his forces are beyond number, and mighty are those who obey his command. The day of the Lord is great, it is dreadful, who can endure it? Chapter 2, verse 31. The sun will be turned to darkness, and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Chapter 3, verse 14. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Sir? I was, sorry. Let me give them to you again. Chapter 1, 15, chapter 1, verse 15, chapter 2, verse 1, chapter 2, verse 11, chapter 2, verse 31. Pardon me? We're still in Joel. And chapter 3, verse 14. Now, in class 1, do you remember being taught that you need to look for repeated words and phrases, or even repeated concepts that are not necessarily using the same words, but they're the same concept? Remember that? This is another reinforcement of that skill. When you're reading the Old Testament and you see something repeated often or used repeatedly, that ought to cause your antenna to go up. You ought to say, there's something significant here. I need to come to understand what this means. The only way, I know it's hot. I'm hot too. The only way to understand prophetic literature is to keep reading it and to keep trying to come to terms with what he's saying. What is the immediate situation that he's preaching to? Because the primary function of prophetic literature is to foretell the truth. In the midst of that, he may speak of a future event, foretelling the future. Now, on page 250, did I give you the theme of the book, The Day of the Lord? Yes. Okay. Brother Mock consistently puts theme and purpose together, but they are not the same. So I give you the themes, the little paragraph that says theme and purpose, that's actually just the purpose. What he says is good here, but it's not the theme, it's the purpose. Joel used a locust plague on the land to warn the people of God that he would come to judge sins on the day of the Lord, because God is not free to bring blessings until he has dealt with sins. Now, also, you know that this book is